Welcome back, viewers at home. You're certainly joining us right here on Prime Live Channel 345. We're having a very sensitive conversation, quite necessary, which is all things suicide. And it's quite sad to see that in South Africa, suicide is on the rise, affecting young individuals from the ages of 15 to 24. Joining me tonight is Ashleigh Ernstzen, the director of Matthew and Me, as well as Tina Gordon, also the director of Matthew and Me, who are going to share a story or just the experience as well as what it has birthed for us to find more insight and awareness around teen suicide, foster open conversations about mental health, and provide support for families facing similar challenges. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me tonight and welcome to INX Prime.
Thank you for inviting us to your show and giving us the opportunity to share our very important story.
Now, before we get to Matthew and Me, and with your permission, to your comfort, I want to find out in terms of looking at Matthew and Me. Can you take us back to how long ago was this, and how did it affect you, and how did you find a means of moving forward?
So I've had got a son, Matthew. He was 16, and on the 4th of August 2024, he lost his
It's okay.
it is okay.
He lost his battle to suicide, or to depression. He was a beautiful boy, 16 years old, a scholar at King Edward. He had a few struggles, and I don't think he got enough the help that he needed. So unfortunately, we're sitting in this situation.
And as a best friend, finding out this, because I believe Matthew was your son too, how did this affect you, and having to be there for your friend and also having to be there for yourself? What was that like?
Well, my son, Troy Gordon, he was 16. He was Matthew's best friend. So that's how we also ended up having the relationship that we do. And Matthew was like a second son to me. He spent every second weekend with us. So we lost a family member too. So we also in the struggle, obviously not the same struggle as the Ernstens are going through, but it's been a really horrific experience that we struggle every day.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, so tears are good. Feeling better now. So yes, he lost his battle to depression, and ended up ending his life. And I think the most traumatic thing of all was that we didn't see it coming. There were no signs. He was happy, he loved his sports, he loved school, he played cricket, he played rugby, he played in the school band, he was good at academics, he loved walking through the school gates, he loved coming home. We did beautiful things on the weekends. He's got a younger brother, dogs, loving family, and there were no signs, and I think that was what was so traumatic. So we did know he was struggling with depression, and I think we did have him with a psychologist, we did have him with a psychiatrist, and I think one of the things, if I look back now, that they didn't inform us about is when they're in the depths of depression and they're in that really, really dark space, medicine can help. But when they're coming out of that space and they're starting to feel better, no one actually tells you that that's when the risk is high. So everyone was like, yay, Matthew's getting better. He had his life back on track. He was feeling good about himself. And that is when the high risk factor for suicide is. So I think that's why it caught us completely unaware, because everyone had said, he's fine. Matthew had said he was fine. I've got my life back together. Anyway, so we lost him, and I think we just need to keep his legacy alive, and we knew we needed to do something, and I think every family tries to do something. People start organizations, they have runs, they have events, so we decided on Matthew and Me, and hopefully we can use that to spread awareness, create awareness. We can get these difficult, honest, courageous conversations started. But yeah, that's generally where Matthew and Me came from.
Considering the personal experience, I just want to find out, and I think I'm going to give Ashleigh a break, a little breather, and start off with you, Tina, to say, looking at Matthew and me and speaking on his legacy, I want to find out in terms of how exactly through Matthew and me you continue to honor his legacy and who Matthew was before, losing his battle with depression, and how that actually helps other struggling families.
So through the name itself is dedicated to Matthew, because he was such a happy, bright boy most of the time that we knew him. That is what we want to keep on going. We're trying to focus on children, especially, as you mentioned, the target range between 15 and 29. We're just finding that so many children are battling with the pressures that happen nowadays, whether it's academics, sports, social media. That's a really, really big thing. So we are trying to create the awareness that it's okay to speak about the struggles and to create safe places so that these children know that they can go to a place, to a person, and not be judged, and to get the help that they need, whether that's medication or not. But we find that these kids don't have a safe space. They don't feel like they have a trusted space that they can be vulnerable. And so for us, we're trying to get it, we're focusing on the kids. All our branding is very kid-orientated. Our social media is very kid-orientated, to appeal to them and to know that there's nothing wrong with them. If there's something, we find it okay if somebody's struggling with high blood pressure or diabetes to go to the doctor and to get medication, and that's okay to get that help.
Yeah.
But there's such a stigma around mental health. To get help in whether it's speaking to someone or medication, there's just too much of a stigma around it. So we need to make it okay to feel sad, because feeling sad is okay. It's a part of life, and it's to go through that. Go through it, and for it to be okay to get the help that you need.
You mentioned something quite important, Tina, to say, mental health is something that exists. And you can only imagine, I think I read a quote, someone was like, if something is affecting an adult, you can only imagine its implications on a child.
Absolutely.
And this makes me now want to ask you, Ashleigh, to your permission, to your comfort, no pressure, how do you hope to change the perception around mental health struggles among parents and families, particularly for teens, and especially, I think, not just limiting it to family and parents, but also institutions like that, of schools, like, spaces that, most times our kids spend their time there.
I think one of the biggest things is that if we look at mental health and you link it up with suicide, one of the biggest factors leading into suicide is depression. And like Tina said earlier on, we aren't open to saying, I'm feeling depressed, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling down, because and I think in a lot of cases that lands up in silence, and people don't want to talk about it. And I think we need to send the message out that it's okay to not be okay. I think we need to have these conversations. And I think the biggest thing of all is that we actually need to change the attitudes of the older generation. Being a teacher, I find that the teenagers I'm teaching at the moment are very aware about their mental health and managing their mental health. And I think the stigma and the silence sits with their parents and sits with their grandparents or older generations. So, we just need to encourage these conversations, and I think that I can still get on with my daily life. I can still play in sports teams. I can still do academics if I just get the help that I need. There's nothing wrong with me. With the 10th of September being Suicide Prevention Day, there's interesting talk around that. A lot of people who have lost their children to suicide say they don't like the word prevention because it makes them feel guilty that they didn't do anything to prevent it. So a lot of that community far rather prefer the word awareness. And I get it, I understand, but suicide is preventable. It is. There are lots of things that we can do, but I think because of the silence and because of the stigma, we don't talk about it. And when I look back now, I realize there is so much we could have done, but it doesn't help having the knowledge after the fact, and that's why I want to reach out. I want to tell parents there's so much to do. One of the biggest things is remain calm. I think in whichever healing process or journey you want to do, it must involve the person, be it your friend who's an adult or a teenager. You must both agree, are we going to go the medical route? Are we going to go medicine, psychologist, psychiatrist? I think you must do your homework on which psychologists and psychiatrists. Don't necessarily just go to the first one. Find one that fits with you. For me, only since Matthew's passing did I hear about the most amazing organization, SADAC. They are absolutely incredible. They offer so much, their helplines, their pamphlets, their support groups, their online groups, and I'd sort of vaguely heard about them beforehand, but that was never really offered. It's often not offered as a route. You know, I sort of think in our society we just medicate. And that's not always necessary. I think the other thing is with the stigma, people think if I talk to you about suicide, I'm then going to be suicidal, and that is not the case at all. If you know someone is depressed or anxious, and you think they may be suicidal, they actually want to speak about it. They want you to say, are you feeling suicidal? So that my message is to parents is talk. Ask your child, because they don't want to be judged, but they've got emotions and things they want to share with you. But because we're afraid, because, you know, I think the most thing we need to say is I want to get out there and I want to say to people, say suicide. It's like this forbidden word that we're not allowed to say. So yes, speak about suicide. It's okay to have suicidal thoughts. Often when the person is suicidal, they just want someone to sit next to them. They don't want the panic and the rush. It's like, be calm, listen to them. If you think they have got a suicide plan in place, then there is time to get help and intervention, but make sure they are not left alone. But I think, yes, it's open conversations, it's being calm, it's talking about suicide, talking about depression, keeping it open, finding a route, having, if they are suicidal, having a prevention plan or a support system in place. So have your 5 friends that you can reach out to. Have a system that when you are in a dark place, you know, a reminder of what happy activities do you want to do, reasons for you not ending your life. So I've got so much to share. I've got so much to tell. I've got such a story and such an experience, and I want to use Matthew's love and light to if we can just prevent one person, one other family having to go through this, it will just help me feel so much better, because one life is enough.
Certainly. And I think, you know, you mentioned something that is quite important. Naming the problem is the starting of finding its solution, because you can't heal or help something that you yourself can't even articulate to say what it is. And I think in recognizing that, it allows the child themselves to say, okay, this is that feeling of depression that I can help by being calm, maybe getting a hug from mommy, or just knowing what to do through the conversations that would be fostered at that. But sadly, unfortunately, we have run out of time. This has been quite an amazing conversation. But one thing I want to just get from you in closing, the both of you, in terms of talk us through what Matthew and Me offers to other parents and other families in terms of the program, some of the initiatives that are there.
Tina?
So we're still pretty new in the space that we're occupying right now, and we're growing as Matthew and Me is growing. We have started off our first big event. We were really appreciative of Old Aids and Discovery. We managed to partner up with them for a 5-kilometer walk in Matthew's honor in August. So that was a really great platform for us to get quite known, and hopefully that will become an annual event. And in this process, a big love and a focus of Ashleigh's is to create a mental health first aid course. So that's in progress, because there's quite a lack in our country for people that are struggling, and in the emergency situations, you know, then and there, when you're sitting with a problem, what do you do? As Ashleigh mentioned, there's SADAG. They've got the most amazing call center that people can phone in when they're struggling. But other than that, there's not really a widely available plan in place that people can access. You know, where do I go? What do I do in those certain times? So that is a big focus of Ashleigh's. And for us to get into schools, we would like to focus on sports coaches and teachers, because we do believe, as Ashleigh mentioned as well, the gap in our generations. The older generation maybe don't have the tools. Yes, they might be teachers, but these children are facing different problems. So to create some kind of courses for specifically for teachers and sports coaches, to help them be aware of and address the stresses that these children are under, because so many kids are suffering that, and they're not able to get the help. So that's where we are at the moment, and we're going to grow as we do. You know, certain things are going to come up, but that we've started. So we started, and hopefully we're making Matthew proud wherever he is now.
Ladies, I want to say wholeheartedly, thank you so much for really trusting us with, Matthew in his memory, and really being open and vulnerable to us to see, and also helping us to be aware in terms of how do we also ensure that no life is lost moving forward. And once again, thank you, and we wish Matthew and me nothing but growth and success. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much
very,
for the
very
platform.
much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Viewers at home, that was my quite interesting, quite informative, and quite inspirational conversation between myself and Ashleigh Ernstzen, the mother of Matthew, as well as the second mother of Matthew, Tina Gordons, who was sharing in on how you can play a role in us getting rid of this rise in suicide. But for now, let's head over to an ad break. We'll see you just after this.